Well, hello, welcome to another installment of the Mililani Minute videos. Today we are continuing our discussion the first week through the questions and answers on the Bible. And so I've got something I want to share with you. Yesterday we talked about the Bible. We asked the question, is the Bible true? We asked, how can the Bible be true if it was written by men? And then we asked the question, how is the Bible organized? And the answer for that last question is the Bible is organized in 66 books, 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament. And there's inevitably a question that pops up. How did we decide only 39 made it to the Old Testament and only 27 made it into the New Testament? There are some Bibles out there that have extra biblical books. There are books that are not considered inspired, but some translations include these books. Usually a Catholic Bible will have something called the Apocrypha. These are extra books that are not, we do not believe that they are inspired. They might be good for some teaching, they might be good for historical context, but are they on the same level as Scripture? We would say no. Well, how do we determine those things? I want to read very quickly. There are 5 tests that Scripture was put through before determining whether or not it was included in the canon or the completed Bible. And so while we talk about these extra biblical books such as the Apocrypha or the Pseudepigrapha or the Gnostic Gospels, they were not included in inspired writings for one reason or another. There were a series of tests that were put together. Now, I'm reading this from the parent guide on the book that we've been Cornerstone's 200 Questions and Answers to Teach Truth. And so I'd encourage you parents to really pick this book up on Amazon, read through it, use it as a devotional for your family, for your children. It has some really great information in here. It's by author Brian Dembowczyk. But I want to read the 5 tests are very quick. The first test was divine inspiration. The question that you need to ask is, did the book directly claim to be inspired by God, such as including the phrase, "Thus saith the Lord"? Or does it show clear signs of inspiration? The second test is prophetic authorship. Was the author a prophet or an apostle or a close associate of one of those two, writing under direct authority of one of those? The third test would be, did it have church acceptance? Was the book widely accepted by the church and included as a part of their worship gatherings? If the early church did not consider this to be an inspired book, or if they did not consider it to be a biblical book, we probably shouldn't either. The fourth test would be absence of error. Was the book free of errors in history, theology, and so forth? Does it contradict anything else that it says? And that would constitute an error if it's completely different. There's another type of contradiction, and we need to ask the 5th test would be, does it agree with Scripture? Okay, do the central teachings of this book or of this writing align with the teaching of Scripture, the teaching of the other books of the Bible? So in other words, if you have one book that says, well, salvation is by faith alone, through Christ alone, and then you have another book that says salvation is in faith plus works, well, that doesn't agree. So which one are we going to follow? And so we need to put the book through all 5 of those tests in order to determine, is this an inspired writing? Is this a book that we can really glean as though it is from the Lord? And so we need to ask those questions. Now, when I say all of those, the reason why I wanted to share those 5 with you are because the questions we're going to ask today are, what are the divisions of the Old Testament? And then what is the difference between the major and the minor prophets? And so we're going to talk about those 2 things very quickly today. But I wanted to go through that 5-prong test because there could be questions about, well, why was this book added and why were these other books not added? We've kind of covered that. If you have more questions, we would love to talk with you about that later. But in the quest of answering these questions, we're going to go through the next two questions here today. And again, that question is, what are the divisions of the Old Testament? And the Old Testament is the Old Testament is made up of 5 different divisions. There's the law, there's history, there's the writings or the poetry, and then you have major prophets and minor prophets. Okay, so you have the Old Testament is made up of 5 divisions: law, history, writings, major prophets, and minor prophets. And those are the 5 divisions. Okay, and you can kind of see them in sections as you read through. The next question for today is, what is the difference between the major and the minor prophets? A lot of people have a kind of a hang up on this, and they say, well, I'm not going to worry about the minor prophets, the major prophets. I really need to learn what they have to say. We need to understand what major and minor is referring to. So again, the question is, what is the difference between the major and the minor prophets? The difference between the major and minor prophets is the length of the books. It's that simple. It's the length of the books, not their importance. Remember, all Scripture is inspired. All Scripture is profitable, okay, for teaching, for rebuking, for correcting, for training in righteousness, which means all Scripture is equally important. All Scripture is there for us to learn, for us to grow. And so if we start looking at, well, this book is more important than that book, it's all inspired and it's all there for us to learn. So we need to remember that. So again, what are the 5 divisions of the Old Testament? The 5 divisions of the Old Testament are the law, history, writings, major prophets, and minor prophets. What is the difference between major prophets and minor prophets? The difference between major and minor prophets, as they are the books of the Bible, is their length, not their importance. So I hope that this is another encouraging video for you. As we continue tomorrow, we'll talk about 2 more questions as we wrap up this week. We'll see you then.